And welcome. We are live. Well, not live. I guess we're recorded nowadays, Ethan. Anyways, we're in studio. We missed last week. Sorry about it, but we put out extra content through the interviews last week as well. So you're welcome. Put out an interview this week as well with a guy named Chris Becker, where we talked about content creation as far as LinkedIn goes. Highly recommend you guys check that out. And in studio, we have a very special guest, a guy that I've ran across on LinkedIn, a guy that I enjoy looking at his content. He's got that go-getter mentality. He brings gifts. He's got a hustle mindset, and I love how he takes his personal experiences in his personal life and brings it back to a relatable way into what he's actually doing, which is selling, which sounds like a lot of cold calls on a daily basis. So Dalton Daughtry, what's up, brother?
All right, Gunner, it's good to be here, man. I appreciate you taking the time to invite me out, and looking forward to having a conversation here with you.
Yeah, man, this is going to be fun. So originally we were going to have, a little bit less time. You got here a little bit early, and I've got a little bit of free time. So we're going to knock this out.
Sure.
We're going to dive into some things. First thing I want to dive into, we talked very briefly before we came onto the show. Just kind of give everybody a little brief history on who you are, where you came from, and kind of how you're at where you're at right now. Just
Sure.
a very brief sales pitch.
Yeah, for sure. So Dalton Daughtry here. I'm originally from the Chattanooga area. If somebody's not local, then I'll say Chattanooga, but from Bledsoe County, so about an hour north. And I grew up on the outskirts of the city, so in really rural Tennessee, East Tennessee, on a farm. Raised by a single dad, came to Chattanooga by way of UTC, UT Chattanooga, studied business marketing, and really I went to school to meet my wife. At the end of the day, like when I look back at my grades, they weren't too hot, but my wife was, and so
That's all that matters, right? There you go.
So yeah, I graduated back in 2018, and it's interesting. So when it was in 2018, I was about to wrap up my degree, and I picked up a book. And the book, basically, for those who are readers, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad tells him, "Hey, you need to get into sales, Robert, if you want to be an entrepreneur." And so I realized, like 5.5 years worth of business school hadn't really taught me what I needed to know. And in fact, I just pretty much had developed a bunch of bad habits, bad association, and spent a lot of money I didn't have to get that degree. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take Robert's Rich Dad's advice and really just get out into my career and start learning the skills that are necessary to make me successful long term. So here we are, almost 4 years later, post-graduation, and I'm working for a technology company out of San Francisco, named yesterday one of Forbes' top 100 cloud companies, up there with some of the greats like Gong and Salesforce and all these other big companies. And yeah, we're just we're learning and growing, and just excited to be here.
Well, there's so much we could unpack there, but let's talk a little bit about Rippling.
Rippling.
So now, what is your title at Rippling? What do you do?
So Enterprise Sales Development Representative. So I'm the front end of the sales funnel for technology sales. So for those that aren't familiar, the sales cycles, in technology, and these are very large deals typically, and so we've got a very long process, and so my job is on the front end, basically prospecting, putting people in the pipeline, and just generating revenue from the front end.
So when you say from the front end, you're not closing.
So I'm not closing.
Okay.
Correct.
So what's the furthest you get in? Like, so you call me, you talk to me, we need to move on in the process. Like, where do you get out? Like, where's the transition? Where's the handoff?
Absolutely. So basically, the SDR is the tip of the spear, and then the account executive walks the person through the sales cycle, and then they partner up with customer success to actually close the deal. So
okay.
A lot of hands touch the prospects proverbially as they move through the sales cycle, and so I do mostly prospecting.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you're qualifying the people to even send them to the account executive.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting. So when you're calling them and selling them, who are you targeting? Who are you going after? What are you pitching?
Yeah, so pretty much like any company that is a certain size. So I'm an enterprise, anybody basically that's a large customer in our customer base. I'm just working on getting in contact with CEOs, COOs,
Okay.
CHROs. Mostly it's an HR technology, but I mean, it's the guts of a company. And so, if somebody's going to make a decision to replace something like that or upgrade something like that to a Rippling, it does require multiple stakeholders to make that type of decision. So I'm
Sure.
reaching out to them.
So what is the smallest company you'd go after?
Oh, wow. So the technology is very unique in that personally, I wouldn't do this. I did whenever I started with the company. I was reaching out to basically any size, but we can, our technology works for a company the size of 2 people up.
Wow. So HR technology that could work for 2 people. What is that, pretty much therapy for those guys?
Pretty much, yeah, at that point.
I gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you've got a product that you can pretty much sell to anyone that owns a company.
Correct.
Interesting. It's a big pool to pull from.
It is.
So does this company provide you training in order to sell their product? Or they just give you product knowledge and you got to learn how to sell their product?
Mostly product knowledge.
Okay.
We do some training, but for the most part, the best training I get is outside of 9 to 5.
Which should be everybody.
Sure.
Everybody should be curious. Everybody should be trying to learn. I love to learn. I don't love to learn what you want me to learn or anything to learn. Like I don't love going to school and learning just generically.
Sure.
But if I'm like, man, I can't figure out how to work this, make this Excel worksheet, do what I want it to do, I will sit down and watch YouTube for 7 hours and then figure it out. I'm literally a YouTube university, self-taught YouTube university. And then it just kind of went into Grant Cardone for sale. Then I started looking like, we was talking earlier, I said I just kind of transitioned to being all in to career, right? It was all pro wrestling and extracurriculars. And now that I've got like a fiance and and a family and a little boy to take care of and much bigger things on my plate, it's career, money, take care of people, provide, that type thing. So yeah, man, it's interesting, but not about me. Let's talk more about you. So here's some questions. You're learning outside of your actual job, right, to get a little better, to hone your skills like a pro athlete would. Who are you going after? Who are you looking at? You've talked Grant Cardone. I've talked Grant Cardone.
Sure.
We could talk me all day, but Grant Cardone, who are some other guys you go after?
Great question. I guess guys in the media that would be relative to a general audience would be I like a Patrick David Bett for mindset. This
Love
is mindset. Obviously guys like that Jay Rogan pulls onto his show. Like a Naval Ravikant. He started a company called Angels List. He's an Indian. Brilliant guy.
I know what you're talking about.
His book, or it's not even, he didn't even really publish it, but his Naval's Almanac, I read it earlier this year. Phenomenal book for mindset. He's been an influence, guys. Just the greats like Zig Ziglar. We've got Brian Tracy. When it comes to leadership, guys like John Maxwell, and there's just so many I could name. Frank Becker when it comes to just sales.
I don't know if I know that guy.
Yeah, he's an old insurance, like one of the top insurance salesmen of the past century. So
Okay.
back in the old day when you'd hard close somebody with paper on their desk.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
he's the whole pen and pencil deal.
Exactly,
Yeah, I
yeah.
gotcha. And a lot of Cardone stuff is old school selling. And I think that's because he tells the stories of him listening to old school sales tapes as he was starting to get his career. If he was 20 years, that's 40 years ago. So, that's the 80s, early 80s, late 70s. So, he's an old school sales guy too. He transitioned to more marketing. I'm more impressed with him with his brand building. And that's mainly my focus right now is how can I learn how to sell without having to sell? Like, can I get people to want to come to me? And if I can figure that out, I can sell. I can persuade and negotiate. I've done those things. Big deals. But if I can get people to come to me and I don't have to go to people, that's a game changer. That's what all those guys have figured out.
That's right.
Like, all those guys have given away so much free content. Now people are coming to them and wanting to pay them for something else. So it's interesting. Do you do any boot camps, any workshops? You've been in person anywhere to see anybody?
Yeah, great question. So, yes, but nothing that's been like publicly advertised. So it's kind of a funny story. We could talk about it.
Yeah.
I've looked at some things too. There's one coming up in about a month with some guys like a Jeb Blunt and, that I may attend, some tech sales guys. But for the most part, I'd say most of the training has been like just having conversations with people, just talking with people and learning not to be weird when talking to people.
That's a big thing, right?
And so, yeah.
Be yourself. Like, that's the biggest. Like, when I stopped trying to be professional, that's when everything started to click for me. Like, just be yourself.
For sure.
That's the biggest thing. Nobody wants a fake version of what they think a business person should be. You don't want that.
That's right.
Just be you. And I think there's seasons to everything. The guy I like to listen to is Alex Hormozy.
Oh, Alex, he's been pretty hot lately.
He's probably the best free information out there, if I had to guess.
And he's built kind of like you in that you can see his bicep veins through his shirts.
Right. So he stands out, right? Stands out. I'm trying to be that in the freight brokerage. Right? I'm trying to be, the jack dude that talks on TV in the freight brokerage.
For sure.
So tell me a little bit about your day. Like, you wake up, I want to know your whole structure. Every, successful person, successful salesperson is going to have a structure. So what is your routine?
Yeah, great question. So as of actually yesterday, I moved my alarm back from, it's been 5:30 for quite some time. I moved it back to 5:15 to buy an extra 15 minutes back.
Okay.
Because I'm in this process of, I believe, to where over the next couple years, you ever meet those old guys that just they sleep 2 hours, 3 hours a night, and it's completely normal?
Yeah, it's me.
Okay. So yeah, I'm working to become that, know. And so, I tried for a while going hardcore, doing 5 hours. I kind of bumped it back. And so as of yesterday, my alarm goes off at 5:15 a.m., generally 5:30, 5:15 a.m. And the first thing I'll do generally is I'll go make me a latte.
Okay.
I have a latte machine that I got for Christmas. And so I'll go make a vanilla latte.
Like a fancy one?
I mean, I've other than the latte art, man, it's, I guess you could consider it pretty fancy. It's good.
That's awesome.
And so I'll do that, and then I'll read, and I'll read scripture, and I'll journal out my goals for the day.
Goals and gratitude, that type thing.
Goals and gratitude, absolutely. And then I'll write a prayer. So I'll write out a prayer and just what I'm thankful for, a gratitude journal type thing.
Okay.
And then I'll go exercise, and I like to run. Training for a marathon in December.
Wow. Awesome.
And so I'll go run.
Yeah.
The streets of Chattanooga in the dark. And
is Jesse doing the marathon with you? That's what he's training for?
He is. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. He I told him I was doing it. He's like, all right, send me a link. I'll do it. He's never ran anything like that. So
yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I'll go run, and then I'll come back, and then I'll have a little bit of time before I start my day. I start my day at 9 p.m. Eastern, my work day, and I start I'm very particular. I'll start it early, but I'm not going to start it late, even though I work from home. So I'll come home, make a good breakfast, usually steak and eggs is generally my breakfast, and then I'll get my day started. My work day. I'll do my prospecting in the morning. First thing I'm doing is calling people, trying to, getting people on the phone, just making my dials.
How many?
Every day, my goal is 100.
Okay.
Some days more.
What's your record?
Some days less. So for a while we had a dialer.
Okay.
And we're about to get another dialer. I don't know if are you familiar with dialers?
I don't know. I might need one of these. What's this?
It's a technology where you can basically plug in a list, and you press play, and it'll call people. And so if they don't answer, you can pre-record a voicemail. It'll leave them a voicemail, but if they do answer, you can talk to them. So it's you press play, and it'll go through a list of dials, and it can even call multiple people at once. So there's this dialer that we used with it called 5 people at once, and if one of them answered, it bridged that person through, and all the other ones it would hang up on and put them at the bottom of your list. So you could recall them, and so it bridged that person through, and so you're immediately into a conversation. It's game changing. It's within the past 24 months they've created this technology. Companies like Outreach and Orem. It's going to change the game. Obviously, with anything, it can get the space can get convoluted. People will stop answering phones or their phone eventually, just like email. Nobody's really answering all their emails because they get so many. But yeah, this if you don't have it, you should look into it.
So you have to upload your own list, though?
Sure. Yeah, you do.
So in theory, if you have a lead generating software, you go to it, you pull the Excel spreadsheet of 1,000 numbers.
That's right.
And then you just plug it, copy and paste, hit it, and you just sit at your phone with your headset in, and it just keeps calling people back to back to back to back. Do you know who you're calling?
Yeah, whenever they answer, it pops up. It'll pop up their profile, and so we have it linked to Salesforce, so it'll pop up their Salesforce immediately. You could even link it to their LinkedIn too if that information's in your list. And popped up their LinkedIn too. So as soon as it connects, LinkedIn, Salesforce, person's on the phone, and you're just in a conversation with somebody.
No way. what software do y'all use?
So, well, we're in a position where we're transitioning to a different software, but the biggest and the best right now is a company called Orem, ORUM, and but there's other technologies like Outreach that does it. You could pretty much Google Dialer and find some of the best.
Huh. Wonder what that cost roughly.
I think I think it's maybe $1,500 PEPM, so per employee per month. So it's expensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you can, 5 extra dials in a week and close, there. I mean, you can run the numbers and see if it makes sense.
I would like just like one person to be on it to see if it, like me.
They'll do so. Reach out to Orem. They'll do a trial period with you for like up to 2 weeks and let you just try it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow, I think you just blew my mind.
So
because I hate to say, I hope my guys are listening to this, but I hate to be the guy that's like, hey, boys, we need to be on the phones. Hate to be that guy. I hate to be the guy that's like, hey, phone call volume's down. Sales are down. I'm not quite sure how it goes up if the other one doesn't go up, Like, I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know if people have other secret techniques on how to get sales other than, like, messaging on LinkedIn, emails, seeing them in person, sending a handwritten note, or calling them. So, somebody tell them, is there another way? Am I missing one?
Unless you got just some killer marketing team that's bringing people to you.
We spend I am marketing. So we spend $0 on marketing.
Exactly.
So yeah, if we're not doing those 5 things every day as many times as possible, multiplied by however many people we have.
That's right.
It's hard to get sales, That's why I had a post today. I don't know if you saw it. I was like, how not to get freight. I was like, the question is like, everybody asks, I get asked this question all the time. Like, how do you get freight? How do you get freight? How do you get freight? Here's a better question. How do you not get freight? I listed 21 things on how you would not get freight. You want to know how you get freight? Reverse it. Do those things. Do the opposite of how you don't get freight. Do those things. I promise you'll get freight. Just like you. I'm sure if you did the same thing with what you do and you reversed it, it'd work.
I bet what was where was calling on your list? Was it top 1 or 2 or 3?
So it was not like a list as in like priority, but I did put on there, stop making phone calls.
Sure.
So if you want to not get freight, stop making phone calls. If you want to not get freight, stop adding people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If you want to not get freight, quit when you hear no.
So
those type things, just very simple, basic X's and O's. Everybody knows these things.
Sure.
So explain to me I'm so curious about sales in general. And you're a younger guy and you've kind of picked it up quick. How'd you get the hustle mentality?
That's a good question.
If the way you explained your upbringing shouldn't have been there, right? Everything was stacked against you, kind of. So where did the hustle mentality come? Was it motivated through meeting your wife and kind of seeing the light and being like, all right, I'm going to be this guy? Or were you already starting to become this guy in college and then just kind of decided once you met her and went that direction, all right, I'm going to go do my own thing? Like, where did it come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I always had the seeds of greatness within me. I just had never really found places to where I could get those seeds fertilized and watered. And so, growing up, we just didn't have a lot growing up, and so like whenever it came to sports, I wasn't very good at sports. If there was great at sports and then there was good at sports, I kind of floated between the middle, and maybe it was a fear of putting myself out there and really putting the effort in, and also maybe a fear of like I didn't want to be mediocre, and so I kind of floated in the middle, and so I'd always kind of got by on things in life. I'd always just been average, maybe a little bit above average, and at some point, I don't know if there's not a particular moment that I could look back and just say, like, that was the moment I decided that I'm going to be great. But I can look back at some of the events that happened in my life to where my fiance, she came into my life, and all of a sudden I'm wanting to perform for somebody, and I'm wanting to be good for somebody, and I know that she's looking at me for leadership and guidance, and even though she could handle, like, she was, she came out of college 3.5 years to a mechanical engineering degree, making twice as much as I was making coming out of college. Like, she could handle her own.
Right.
But she was still looking to me for leadership as a man, and I needed to develop my leadership, and so that was a piece of it. A piece of it too was just finding men in my life that. So I graduated college in 20. December of 2018. And within 60 days, I found out my dad has terminal lung cancer. And he's a single father, had raised me. And so my dad's just like my whole life. He was just who I performed for. I wanted to please him. But I got to the age where I went off to college and I'm like, I don't really want the lifestyle he has. Okay. But he's still my dad and I still love him. And I get the news and I'm like, okay, well, what happens when he's gone for my family? And who's going to be the patriarch, and who's going to be? Jordan Peterson says, like, strive to be the most confident and the most reliable person and relaxed, calm person at your dad's funeral, something to that effect. Yeah. And I'm thinking through these things now, like who am I going to be if he passed right now? Like what sort of could I lead anybody? Could anybody count on me? And I have siblings that are, in their teenage years, young kids, and who are they going to look to for leadership in their life? And with today's society, I'm like, they could easily turn to the wrong influences and wreck their lives. And so just little things like that. My fiance, my father, getting, diagnosed, and he passed last year. He made his peace with the Lord. Him and I, our relationship, we mended it before he passed, and had some real like son to father like conversations that never had growing up, and so very grateful for that. But just seeking out other men. I read my senior year. It was again, this is kind of when it all came to fruition, because I think it was I was like transitioning from where everything had always been laid out for me. Just go to the next grade, go do the next thing, to where I was like, all right, now I got to start making choices on my own that matter. And so I realized all leaders are readers, and I'd known that. And so I picked up a book, and in this book, Kiyosaki, I'll reference it because it was the first real book I'd read in my life. And
you were how old?
And I was 23.
Yeah.
And I realized, Robert's success, he named his company and all his branding and all of that after not himself. It's about somebody that influenced him, his rich dad company, rich dad, poor dad. So he was, he had a very, he's very humble in that he sought out guidance. And I'm like, at this point in my life, I'm not humble. And so I'm like, I need to seek out guidance and humble myself. And so I sought out guidance, and I found mentors, and I found men that, cared about me for me. And so, I'd say the hunger, to answer your question kind of in a long roundabout way, there wasn't an epiphany, but there were checkpoints along the way where I looked inward at myself and I said, all right, Dalton, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. If I'm going to make something in my life, I've got to start making better choices, and I don't have to, I don't have to be the successful person today necessarily, but I can make choices. I can make a decision. The next decision I can make it either, I can go down the path of least resistance, or I can make a decision that's going to actually help propel me into the future.
Sure. Very interesting, because everybody has a different way of kind of getting that mentality, right? And it almost sounds like it has, like you've got it, but it's not even where it could be.
Not close.
Like your hustle mentality could be, not even your hustle mentality, just like your go-getter mentality could even almost 10x. I think that's everybody. Everybody has more to give.
Mm-hmm.
Like how tired are you? What is being tired? What is stamina? What is fatigue? But back to your day. So you're up early. I feel you on that. When do you go to bed? Do you have a bedtime, or do you just kind of go to bed? Because you got a Zoom meeting tonight at 10 o'clock. So.
Yeah, so on my calendar, I have it calendared out to where every night at 11 p.m., no meetings past 11 p.m.
Okay.
But usually my goal is to be in bed past midnight. If I'm in bed later than midnight, I'm already mad at myself for the fact that I know I'm going to either one, have to wake up early and, over caffeinate, or, just, struggle through the next day, or I'm going to have to push my time back when I wake up, and then I wake up feeling guilty about the fact that I missed the opportunity to maximize the morning.
Sure.
So like midnight, lights out.
Midnight, but that doesn't mean asleep. That means you need to be in bed. Midnight, lights out.
When I'm in bed, it's lights out.
You're done. Well, after a long day, man, if you're up at 5:15, by the time midnight comes around, you're done. For me, usually, I don't necessarily have a bedtime. I know I operate well when I have a bedtime, better than a wake time. But when I have a wake time, because we got, obligations and things to do, I'd say I'm usually in bed by 11:30, 1 o'clock. Dude, I'm up sometime. I'm usually up at 3:30, 4 o'clock. I go to the gym. Some mornings I walk to. But I'm doing the 75 hard challenge, so I'm trying to stay motivated. But now school started, so I got to get up super early because I got to take him to school too. So, yeah, man, it's exciting. It's exciting to be around guys that enjoy learning and being better and pursuing business and sales and stuff like that. I guess a question I might have: you do remote work. And you've only been working for a few years. So have you ever worked in an office?
Yeah. So I started to work when I was young on the farm, but actually post graduation, full-time job. I started off, my first job was here at Unum, and I knew that I was in a cubicle for about 10 seconds, Gunner, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. So I did that for a year and a half, worked for another insurance agency for a year and a half, got licensed to sell insurance and stuff, and then working at this other agency, I met Rippling through a client, and a client that adopted it, and I realized hey, this technology could probably automate most of our jobs here, at this agency, and so started pinging guys on LinkedIn, and I actually sent them a customer. I sent them and it's now one of our top 20 customers. I sent them a customer, and I'm like, hey, this guy right now is actively looking for technology and is considering using Rippling, and they gave me a shot, and sure enough, here we are.
So what's this job look like? How's that whole process work? The remote work. Explain this to me. So I know you sit down. I'm assuming you have a desk out or an office space laid out at your home or apartment home. What do you got?
Yeah, so we got an apartment.
Okay, so apartment. You got an office space set out. Is your fiance or
my wife?
Wife. Your wife. So is she working remotely or is she working? Both y'all working at home?
So she's home. We actually have about 550 square feet. So this studio is about probably 400. So we have a little bit more space than the studio. We live downtown on Main Street, and so we both have desks that are 2x2 desks, standing desks, and we both have them sitting in the room together. And so we both have our office set up in our bedroom, and we both work remote.
Really? Very interesting. So you guys are with each other all day?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome. You like it? Does it work well?
I love it, yeah. I mean, if there's, I think it's Jordan Peterson who says, in his 12 Rules for Life, when he's referencing, I think this was one of the rules actually, he's referencing marital conflict. And Jordan just says, in his Canadian accent, just have the damn fight. Just fight it out. If there's an issue between you and you're avoiding it, then you're causing more problems. If there's something you need to talk about, just talk about it. So when we work remote together, we're together literally, all the time.
Yeah.
If there's an issue, we resolve it instantly, and our communication skills are excellent because of it.
So is she in sales?
She got a mechanical engineering background and works for the state.
So I'm assuming she's not on the phone all day.
Hardly ever.
So she's probably headphones in, doing some work I can't do.
Spreadsheets and stuff. Yeah, work I can't do either.
But you're on the phone.
That's
your main source of contacting people.
Sure, phones and meetings. Yeah.
So, is there ever a noise complaint if you are that close in the same?
Not really. If she's got to take a meeting, she'll she'll pop up and go to the living room or something.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm being loud, which is a lot.
Yeah. The sales is part of it. Do you find it being more motivating with her there, knowing that she not that she expects you to be good or do well or bring money home, but she does, I'm assuming, right? So
sure.
Is it motivating being well, I can't just phone it in and I can't lie about my work ethic because she's right there judging my work ethic without me knowing she's judging my work ethic?
Absolutely. You have a son, right?
Yes.
And he's 5?
He's 6, yeah.
6, okay. So I don't have a child, but my wife is always watching what I'm doing. And I know that if I'm going to set an example, I've got to set an example. And if I'm going to set an example for work ethic, then yeah, she's always watching, and there's no hiding anything. So yeah, I work hard for her too. Yeah.
Does she ever be like, hey, well, you only made like 20 calls today. What's wrong? You good? What's wrong with you?
There's not days like that, so no.
I got you. So you're always on the grind.
Uh-huh.
Very interesting, man. So the remote work, you like it. Do you like it better than the office work?
Oh, 100%.
Why?
Because it's so I can literally, so my morning routine doesn't involve travel. Even if travel's like 15 minutes, it doesn't involve the thought of having to go travel. And by the way, I get dressed every day. I wake up, I do my hair, I shave every day. I shower, I get dressed every day. I'm wearing something with a collar, which isn't most people that work remote work, but I feel better, whenever I've dressed up a little bit.
I feel you.
And so, the biggest difference for me has been, instead of like water cooler banter or, transparently, like, all cultures are different. Some people need to be in an office. Some people need it. Some people don't need it, but they prefer it. And some people have a culture to where they can actually go in and the culture motivates them, right? Because community is everything, especially in a role like in a sales role.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of guys in a boiler room, they're feeding off of energy, and that's a real thing. And so for a lot of people, it probably, like in a role where you're paid based on production, like it's either you make it or you don't make it. And the company's looking at a number. Like Dalton is a number on a spreadsheet, and that number, if it looks real good, great. But if not, they'll weed those people out. And so I really like it. I can't see going back to an office culture unless, I had either it was my office or, just there's people I want to associate with that I get to go spend time with. It's just if I'm going to be like in a role like my wife, so she's an engineer and engineer by trade. She works in project management. She spends most of her day doing like cost analysis and financial planning and budgeting and all these things, and that don't require any like work with anybody, like any collaborative work.
Sure.
A lot of asynchronous type stuff. And so her type of role, it makes sense to not, have to be in an office. And so, but for in a sales role, I think that it's beneficial for folks to be able to have that opportunity. But if they can, create the disciplines to not have to do that, then that's actually, I prefer it.
So you almost feel like an entrepreneur, like you almost have your own business in the business.
100%, yeah.
So it gives a little bit more ownership to it. Okay. Now, as far as money goes, I talk money, but I'm saying like things going well. Like you like this job. That's the reason why you're at it, because you're obviously selling and things are going well. It's a good commission structure.
Yeah, it's great. So, I'm working for a company out of San Francisco in Chattanooga, so that has benefits to it.
Sure.
The cost of living out there is twice what it is here. So just the standards are different. But, so there's been months, where it's been slower. But overall, last month I was the top producing rep out of, we have a sales team of over 300 people. I was the top producing SDR. So out of about 100 SDRs, I was top with 240% of my commission and, or 240% quota. And so things are really good, but the ball's always moving in a startup. We're 6 or 7 years old. The target's always moving.
Yeah.
And so it's an always evolving thing. It's not like I go in and I pound the stone and I go home. It's like I go in and I pound the stone, but the stone's moved and now it's a marble and now I have a chisel and things just look different.
I gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Now is it salary and commission or is it just
Correct.
commission?
Yep, both.
Good deal. Good play. Yeah, I was looking on LinkedIn, just going through. I always go through the job things just to look at them. There was a director or a VP of sales job for Bravado.
Bravado, yeah, absolutely. I've actually prospected and booked a meeting with them before.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I don't know what they do. What do they do?
So they I don't even know all what they do, but I know that it's
a tech company of some sort.
It's a tech company in Nashville. I think sales enablement and training or something along those lines.
Yes. So they let's see. It was out of California where this position was, but it was remote.
Okay.
It was like $300,000 plus salary or plus commission. I was like, what? And I was like, oh, it's out of California.
Yep.
It's like getting paid, $150,000 down here.
It's the exact same.
So that's the play. The play for these people, and I think a lot of people did this, and they're probably going to lose their jobs because they're not good at it. They're just good at interviewing.
Sure.
But people that got really good jobs they shouldn't have remotely in a different state than they're currently at, that has a much I guess, higher cost of living. So they're just banking money.
And a lot of them too, they recognize that was kind of the trend, and so they're paying people based on location now.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very common trend. But those people you're talking about that they jumped over, got this sexy work from home tech job, and a lot of those people right now that aren't really producing are getting laid off.
Yeah, because they weren't any good.
Yeah.
Like I think Patrick Bet-David says like anybody could have sold the past 2 years.
That's right.
But who's going to sell the next 2 years?
That's a fact, yeah.
And even in logistics and freight, I mean, we saw it. The market was crazy. Now it's starting to correct. And it's going back to the way it was prior to COVID and all that happening. So it's just interesting that everything's starting to kind of correct itself, slow down, and history will always repeat itself. But I'm glad you like the remote work. I'm starting to kind of come around on it. I don't know if it's because, like, I can't really. There's a couple things I can't talk about in here yet. I'm an idiot. I'm such an idiot.
Cut that out.
Yeah. So anyways, but there's reasons why I'm kind of thinking remote work, and one of those is location. But I'm out in Saudi. It's just like I get the team environment, and I've been a guy that's been like, listen, I'm all about. It's got to be team. It's got to be team environment. Got to be in the office. It's the way it's got to be. But now I'm starting to be like, man, I don't know. I think I could get more done at home.
You could.
Like there was a day last week, because when Marcus in the summer, like he comes to work with me, and there's plenty of space for him to play and run and PS5 and wrestlers and whatever. But he messes around with the guys a lot. And they mess around with him too, and it's fun, right? Even in here, he likes to wrestle. So he's going to, like, if you start wrestling with him, dude, he will wrestle for 7 hours. And he's going to get mad when you stop wrestling. So, but he'll wrestle the guys, and then they get into it. Like I'm saying, my 30-year-old sales guys, right? They get into it. They start yelling at each other, and I'm like, guys, y'all are worse than 6-year-olds. Come on, please. Like y'all are. Like he doesn't do this. You drive me crazy. So that I'm tired of the, and I hope they're listening. I'm tired of the going to a place to not get anything done. Like if we're just going to sit around and talk about just random stuff, I don't need to go to a place to do that. Y'all can text me. But if you text me in a group message about some stuff I don't want to talk about, probably not going to respond. So now you don't even get to interact with me. Like I could literally get more done at home than I could probably at work. It's always somebody in the office, always somebody asking questions. And the majority of the time, it's not about work.
Sure.
So yeah, man, I might be looking towards remote one of these days.
Well, I mean, that's the direction where things are headed if a company can sustain it, right? A manufacturer can't. A painting company can't, but in a role like yours, I mean, you're the asset. You're making the money for the company. You with the right technology, put the right things in your hand, you could put you anywhere in the world. You could be productive for your company. And I think companies that are recognizing that are going to see the trends. And, why should I pay, as a company, why should I pay, $1.4 million to lease this office for the next 36 months when in reality I could, everybody could get just as much done at home. If we don't need them, right? And then use that money towards, a more productive ends, equipping you with better tools to where you could do your job more successfully and even potentially without, needing to invest so much time into it,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, rent's a lot for a lot of people, especially in these bigger companies. I mean, you're looking at a minimum of $10,000 upwards to $30,000, $50,000 a month just in rent.
I mean, look at Unum. What'd they do?
Yeah.
They got all the logistics companies are now taking over Unum.
It's crazy.
EPB doing the same thing. TVA.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Everybody's starting to kind of figure it out. I saw something that was like by 2028, like 80% of current jobs will be remote. And I was like, well, that's a strange statistic. What type of jobs are we talking about? Because I guess if you do like office jobs, you could almost do that. But then who's going to own the buildings? Like what's going to be in the buildings?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there going to be more spaces to live? I don't know, man. It could get wild. So what's the play? What's next?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, well, so you got rippling going on. You're crushing the sales game. You're trying to get out there a little bit with your YouTube stuff. Do a little bit of content creation. What's next? What are you trying to accomplish in the next year?
Great question. In the next 12 months, so as of about 3 months ago, we paid off every last penny of debt we owed.
Okay. Dave Ramsey?
I mean, we used some of his methodologies for sure, the snowball effect.
Yeah.
not taking out useless consumer debt. I was very guilty of that in college and racked up about $72,000 worth of it.
Ooh.
And so we paid that off. That was, mission number one, while at the same time saving up money, having some money in the bank, investing, those sorts of things. And so my long-term plan is financial independence, man. And I know right now, I know who I'm talking to. Like, my long-term goal, game plan is financial independence. And so I'm making decisions about anything. I'm thinking about that long-term. And so for us, we've done, for the past 3.5 years or so, we've done some e-com, some business online, and we'll do about 100,000 in sales online.
Wait a minute, what?
This year?
You have a business as well?
Yeah, I do, absolutely.
Okay, explain this.
Okay.
You got to start the show like this. All right,
Okay.
so you've got a side hustle,
yeah. You
or is it more of a automated, also full hustle?
It is. There's a lot of automation involved in it. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, you're familiar with. So, you're drinking an energy drink right now, Rain. I don't know who produces it, but there are probably people out there that can sell it as representatives. So we've partnered with some companies to where basically, we can offer. We have over 500 different products that we move mostly on the web, and we don't do the logistics, manufacturing. We don't do the operational piece of it. We basically connected. Manufacturers to customers and created distribution channels to where, we can connect some, we can make some residuals off of just, product that's moved.
Really?
And so, yeah.
Is this something that you buy into, or is this just relationships and agreements?
Somebody could spend money. It costs money to make money. Transparently, it's like we've invested in the first 2 years, we invested more than we made.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where it is mostly relational. Yeah.
Huh. So, mom and pop shop over here that has a gas station wanted to get some Rain energy drinks, and you have the contact with Rain Energy. They're like, "Hey, I need to get 10 cases every Tuesday of Rain Energy. These people are asking for it." You're like, "Cool, here it is. Boom, buy it." Then they just figure it out.
Yeah, basically, we connect them with Rain, and we collect a little bit of it, for being the connector, like a 3PL kind of.
Yeah, so you're a broker for products and services for other companies.
Yeah, mostly just consumable stuff that people use on a regular basis. Yeah, nothing sexy. I'm not I know real estate and luxury cars and all this stuff is really, Bitcoin and all that multi-level marketing, all that stuff's really sexy, and people want to do that. But and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I think that people could be successful in any of that, but for us, we first of all didn't have the means to go out and invest into some real estate or dump a bunch of money into the stock market.
Right.
And then two, I just wanted to learn kind of business fundamentals, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Mentor Tony Robbins. Just. Their mentality, like a Jim Rohn mentality, or just some of those old sales guys, they had this mentality of just go find something that doesn't really pay a whole lot of money necessarily, but it's going to teach you to develop the skills that are going to pay you long term. And so I'm in that mode right now where it's like I'm not advertising a bunch. I'm not doing a bunch of, I'm not trying to be the sexy guy that knows everything and has all the answers. Like I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I just want to go learn the skills necessary to where when I'm older, I can be.
Very interesting. Okay, well, that's awesome, man. Now, is this something? This like a franchise type company you get into, or did you guys just start this?
So yeah, there's different ways to do it. We've done a kind of a franchise model, but it's something we own, and yeah.
LLC.
We don't have an LLC. Yeah, right. It's mostly financially. It's more financially beneficial for us right now as 1099 contractors.
Gotcha. Okay.
But at some point, an LLC will make more sense, especially with all this tax stuff coming down the pipeline right now.
Sure.
The IRS is about to pass all this, or might pass all these laws. The only way we could protect ourselves is probably through something like that.
Really?
But I need to get with a tax attorney and talk through that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff, man, is a whole different ballgame. I got to learn all that.
I do too. Or just know somebody that knows it all.
So what I've kind of gathered, these guys, so what will happen is you kind of figure out your industry, you learn your skills, you get as good as you can at whatever skills it's going to be, and then you start making money, better money. So you're making, mid-high six figures or seven figures, whatever it is. But there's going to come a point where all those people always have another story where it's like they failed. It's like they get what they wanted, and they think they have enough, and they're starting to make really good money, but then something happens. Almost every story is like this, and they fail. And it's because they don't know the financial game, the macro game. Like, they know all the micro stuff that can teach them how to make the money, and they'll always be able to make the money, but can they keep the money? Like the hierarchy of wealth, like the transfer of wealth. Like, where's it going? Because money doesn't, Robert Kiyosaki, like, money doesn't just go away. There's a transfer of money. So, like, say if you have $50,000 in the bank and now you don't, somebody has your $50,000. Well, how'd they get it? What's that business model? Like, where's all the big money going? That's where I'm trying to, like, shift my mindset to. It's like, if I'm making what I'm making, but I'm spending what I'm spending, who am I spending it with, and where's that money going? Like, who's getting that money? And if you look at all this stuff, it's all your financial constitutions. It's your banks. Like,
that's right.
The banks is where the money's at. It's always been where the money's at. They've always controlled everything. But that's truly where it is. Like, any type of financial game, whether it's Wall Street, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's day trading, whether it's, shorting stocks, whatever it might be, that's the game. And there's only so many guys that are good at it.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
all those guys have failed because they got to the point where they were so good they were making money they couldn't keep it. That's just my perception of how everything's looking.
Well, you're right in that a lot of people can make. I read a statistic the other day that said the average American making, I forget the number, is like, Gunner, is like $200,000 a year, $250,000 plus. The average person making that, over 50% of them were living paycheck to paycheck, making multiple six figures a year. And that's, people can make money. It's, figuring out how to make money is one thing, but you're exactly right. To learn how to keep it is another. And then a step up from that is learning how to keep it, but also learning how to keep it and make it multiply. If I don't want to go too far into the weeds just for the sake of, I don't know who necessarily is listening to this, but if I have right now, let's say I have $100,000 in my bank or in the bank, right? Well, we could go two different paths with this. The bank, one, is taking that $100,000 and they're now loaning out $1 million on that $100,000, and they're making all the money, to your point. But that $100,000 at the same time, in the past 12 months, is it worth $100,000 now? Do I have $100,000 worth of buying power now versus 12 months ago? No, not at all. And so, but the people who are still believing, to your point, like, go to school, get a good education, work really hard, invest in a 401k, a Roth IRA, save all your money, live below your means. Those people, the middle class is a dissolving class, and it's not going to be here. And when we're, seniors, it's not going to be what it is today. And it's because people have that mentality where they think that's the only way to succeed.
And it's not. It's not. You got to learn the game. But you don't learn the game until you get the skills to be able to play the game.
That's right.
Like, you got to play first, and you got to play well.
And you got to fail in the game too.
And then you got to fail. And then you got to get to a point to where you're so good to where you don't know what the next step is, because just because you have good skills and you play very well doesn't mean you coach well, or doesn't mean you lead well, or doesn't mean you have to know how to actually finish the game. Like, maybe you're just really good into the third quarter and then you can't finish the game. But dude, those guys that learn how to finish the game, it's like they go from having like money to having wealth overnight, almost, is what it seems like. But it's not overnight. It's 40 years.
Right.
Like, everybody, like Grant Cardone, perfect example. Nobody knows Grant Cardone's like 65 years old. Grant Cardone didn't blow up until 10 years ago. He's 65 years old and he blew up 10 years ago. Let's call it 2010. He blew up 12 years ago. Man was in his 50s.
Those people at 65, what are they doing? They're retiring, man.
Yeah.
Retiring.
And he's just now starting the game.
He's getting started.
But he did sales up until then shifted to marketing and branding. So when's that going to happen for you? I know you got the YouTube right now.
Yeah.
You're trying. So LinkedIn, let's talk about that. Let's do a whole deep dive on LinkedIn. My favorite platform, 100% bar none, not even close to any of them. YouTube is I don't even count YouTube as a social media. So YouTube is like my entertainment / my education.
Same.
And then LinkedIn is my medium. That is my social. If you want to know anything about me, that's where you go. When did you decide to go all in on LinkedIn?
Yeah, good question. Well, I made getting a job at Rippling helped, just seeing some of the connections. But, man, I've done Instagram, and transparently for me, it was for a long time, it was more of a burden than it was a benefit. And so I fasted. I got married, and I'm like, I need to get off this platform to protect my eyes, to protect my heart, and just not be wasted a bunch of time, death scrolling or doom scrolling or whatever you call it. So I fasted from Instagram for 2 years, and Facebook, didn't touch them.
Wow.
And so in the meantime, I did have a LinkedIn, and I started to really utilize it, not just for
What year is this?
2018
Okay.
is when I really started to use it. And I'll be honest, like I've made my wife this last weekend, just as an example, went and spent the weekend with a friend of hers and a friend of mine, and this couple that just had a baby to be with their new baby, to go celebrate with them. And I met this couple because I met this guy. I worked at a company here in town, Bellhop, in college. And there's a guy in Dallas that worked for the company, so I met him through the company. But we connected on LinkedIn. We didn't meet through the work. We met through LinkedIn based on that connection.
Okay.
Him and I became really close friends, and we both were selling insurance at the time, coming out of college, same age, both just now getting married, getting our life started, became really good friends, and started working on some things together and masterminded together. And he's a really disciplined guy, hungry guy, and he meets this couple in Orlando, and in Orlando, this couple at a conference,
Mm-hmm.
and they become really good friends. Turns out they all live in Dallas together. And so, through that connection, we became close friends with them too. And so now my wife is down this last weekend in Dallas for the weekend, spending time with a couple we met because of a connection I made on LinkedIn.
Cool. So LinkedIn for me, I've had it since college. Probably one of my oldest platforms. Never used it. Never utilized it. Was like, this is pointless. Started using it a little bit around this time last year when I became our director of sales, when we got a sales team in, just to we started doing Cardone stuff, and he was talking about kind of be everywhere all the time, be in everybody's, be fresh on their minds.
That's when I discovered you, by the way, because you got everywhere all the time and you were talking about that. I remember that.
Yeah. So we was doing that, and I was like, I'm gonna lead by example with the guys. Like, hey, let's at least be posting once a day, and then if they were doing it once a day, I need to be doing it 3, 4, 5 times a day, right? So I started doing that, and then I wasn't keeping up with impressions or engagements then. And then we started doing our new build, and we decided to bring in our second sales class because the first sales class was successful, right? So we brought in our second sales class. We knew we were going to do it probably in the middle of this year or spring, and we were building out our new facility in December. We knew we were going to be in there in February. So I was like, all right, beginning of the year, instead of creating these crazy goals and aspirations and these New Year's resolutions I'm not going to keep, I'm going to have one thing that I'm going to kind of hold to myself, and that's I'm going to get known on LinkedIn this year, right? That was my thing. I'd never put the podcast on LinkedIn. I'd never promoted pro wrestling on LinkedIn. I'd never promoted my college football career on LinkedIn, or any of my stories that I tell that I would consider that are my stories that nobody else can really tell, right? Never told these things. And I was like, I wonder if I start posting, if people will start kind of figuring it out. So you start posting, and you realize, well, nobody really cares what you got to say, right? The only things that got views or impressions were me getting engaged. Still, me getting engaged is the number one viewed post I have. Had 11,000 impressions, right? So, and that one took off. But other than that, it was pretty much nothing. If I post a video of me working out, that would get it. But if I talked something about logistics or sales, it wouldn't. And I was like, you guys, we're not getting it. Why are we not wanting to be professional? And then it clicked. This is no longer a professional networking site. And just because it's a professional networking site, or should be, or a resume site, or whatever, or a business platform, whatever it is, all these people are people.
That's right.
Right? So it doesn't matter if they're a CEO, a VP, a director, working in custodial stuff, or if they're a sales rep, or customer success, whatever it is they do, an assistant. They're just people. Those people like Netflix. Those people maybe go to church. Those people like sports. Those people hate certain foods. Those people, like certain colors. And I was like, all the time, these guys at work are just talking about stuff that has nothing to do with work. That's all they talk about. Me too. We'll talk about UFC, talk about the podcast, wrestling, just different things, sports, whatever it is. We'll spend hours wasting a day. Every company I've been at, the Lipsy and this place. I was like, there it is. I'm going to start doing polls, and I'm going to start getting people to react because they don't have to say anything. They don't have to like anything. They just get to put their opinion. Everybody has an opinion, especially on polarizing subjects. So I started doing the polls. I did a few polls earlier in the year, every single one of them, like 100 people on the poll. And then I started looking at the people on the poll, shipping supervisors, logistics managers, like not just people that would be peers, people that are potential customers. So what's the easiest way to have a non-cold lead or a warm lead? Somebody reacts. As soon as they react, they get a LinkedIn message.
Sure.
Hey, man, thanks for reacting to my post. I also don't like vanilla ice cream. How about that? If you need anything, let me know. They'll always respond. Yeah, I love the post. Something about ice cream. Keep putting those polls out. So I'd put like one poll out a week. Got on a Gary V kick. Gary V's like, go through your stuff, figure out what works, right? What's your most impressed post? What's your most engaged post? Now, double down on that. So now every day, I'll do a poll. Every day, that poll gets a minimum of 100 people responding to that poll, and if not commenting on that poll, and that's just people I'm just hitting up every day. Hey, man, thanks for reacting to the poll. And that, dude, this literally, my followers have probably went just in that time from like in the twos, the high twos, like threes, to like almost 6,000 people. And now if I post logistics or sales stuff, I'm getting comments. Hey, man, love the content. So it's slowly like starting to happen. And then you look at these guys like your Cardones, your Gary V's, your Bradleys, your Andy Elliott's, your Alex Ramose's. Alex Ramosi had a podcast for 4 years. Nobody even knew who he was. He's the most popular business guy going right now. And it just happened, you say overnight, but it's not overnight.
That's right.
It was 4 years of him figuring out, well, we're not even going to get any viewers. I'm just doing this for practice. And I took that same mindset in this. I was like, if we don't even get any viewers, when I hop on a Zoom call, I'm not even the same person anymore. I hop on a Zoom call, I'm doing a podcast. Like that's pretty much, like we're about to do a podcast, and I'm about to ask you as many questions as I possibly can about what it is you do. And if I find a problem, I'm going to provide you a solution. If that don't work for you, maybe you know somebody that will. Right? Like we're just going to do a podcast, and I feel confident doing it. Because now this is what, 140, 141? I mean, and we did 60-something episodes of the 60-Minute Broadway. So we're 200 episodes in, a minimum of an hour an episode. It's a lot of talk time, man. Not a lot of people that are in sales also have that much content on the camera that you go to on YouTube and see it. You could start that now. Like imagine where you could be when you're 31 if you started putting out content every day starting now. And that whole Gary V mentality like changed my whole thought process when it came to LinkedIn. And then I started looking in logistics and supply chain. And tell me if you do this in your field, because I don't know your field as well, but like logistics and supply chain, like, well, now how do we become the number one influencer in logistics? Maybe we can't be the number one influencer in wrestling or fitness or podcasting or whatever it is. But what about logistics? Let's break that down. What about freight brokering? Let's break that down. What about freight brokering sales? So let's be the number one guy when it comes to talking about freight brokering and sales. And let's be the most jacked one doing it. So that's kind of the niche I've kind of went into. And since that's happened and kind of like systematically breaking it down to the most bare minimum basics of a platform, from guys I've had on the show, from Nico to that Chris Decker guy to Jordan Mendoza, like all these guys that are creating content, and they're all just kind of like reassuring me like, dude, yes, now put the gas on it. Like just keep doing what you're doing. Like it's going to work. Like it's not a matter of like, and I'm not saying we're going to have millions of followers, this podcast or whatever, but for the past 3 months, our organic followers have like with no like advertising or no like, money into it, has went up exponentially in just the past 3 months. Our actual Buzzsprout views are up on podcasts that we don't even like, that are 40 episodes behind. Like
I was checking it today. We're at like 900 downloads. within the last 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things, man. It's just like you just can't be afraid to fail.
It's the compound effect.
And what is failing? Like, because we're not as famous as somebody else? Okay, everybody could do that. Elon Musk could go, God, man, I'm just not as famous as The Rock, or the vice versa, or however that is. Like, everybody could do that. But if you just start emulating people, looking at them, be like, I want to be like that guy, and start doing what that guy does, maybe you don't become that guy. But you're not going to be the guy you were.
That's right. So
you won, right? Like, you got better. And so many people are just afraid to take that step. Like, they'll be like, well, failed football player. Play Division I football. Like, not failed.
Compared to me, you succeeded.
Failed pro wrestler. I've wrestled guys that are on Monday Night Raw and did pretty well for myself.
Sure.
Failed podcaster. I got a podcast. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Where's yours at? Like, just take a risk. You get up here and talk for an hour every week, right?
Yeah.
But it's those things that kind of make you just a little bit stronger. And I see that in you. I feel like all that coming out of you. So back to a year, like, from a whole perspective, who's the man you want to be in 1 year? Maybe let's talk about on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So let's talk social presence.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be in a year, and how are you going to get there?
So over the past, I'll answer that. I want to backtrack to one comment you made, two comments you made, because they're very good, and I don't want them to go unnoticed. In fact, let's do that first. The first comment you made, you just made it. You said, pick somebody, in life, pick somebody you want to be like and be like them. And even if you don't become exactly like them, who you become in the process is better than who you were.
Yeah. That's
good. I don't know if you're taking notes as podcast listeners or if that's what you guys do, but I would, and that's what I would write down as point number one. And then point number two is, you're talking about the compound effect. And Gary Vee talks about it. Grant Cardone talks about it. Just going all in, and it's not about the content that's produced. It's going to be irrelevant in 12 months, 24 months anyways.
Sure.
It's about who somebody becomes in the process and preparing themselves for that next level. And so, those are two great points. And so I'm in the process of doing just that, and so I had, just as an example for who I want to become, it's going to look a little bit like what it looks like now, but just on a lot bigger scale to where, so as an example, I had two guys reach out to me today on LinkedIn. I posted something, not a lot of content or not a lot of involvement with the post, but two guys reached out to me and both of them were like, hey man, that was a really impactful post. I appreciate you sharing that, and it's because I've done what you mentioned and I've went back and looked and seen what people connect with. And that is, people connect with humans. They don't connect with, business professionals.
Stop selling.
Exactly. And if I'm on LinkedIn in the middle of the day, I do some work on LinkedIn, but if I'm the average employee and I'm on LinkedIn in the middle of the day, why am I on LinkedIn?
Yeah, to get away from work.
And if I get on there and everybody's talking about work, it's no longer an escape for me. And so It's just somebody working. And so, so I've had people reach out and I've had some meaningful conversations. I met with a guy last night, reached out to me. He's like, hey, can we connect? A recent graduate from UTC, and he's wanting to get into sales or marketing or something. He don't know yet. He's trying to figure it out. Just got engaged, and he's just like asking questions, exactly what I did.
Sure.
And we sat down. We had a great conversation. Really good guy. And just what I learned from him in that conversation, he's basically he's at a point. You okay there?
Yeah, I'm good, dude.
Okay.
Need a cough button.
So he's at a point in his life where he's trying to figure out the next steps, and I was able to sit down with him and just give him, just share my story, which was, hey, look, a couple years ago where I was right where you're at. He asked if he could see my calendar, and I'm like, you don't want to see my calendar. He's like, what's your day look like? I'm like, you don't want to see it. There's no reason. Why do you want to see it? Because I don't want the kid to think he has to be somebody he's not. And he's like, I just wanted to see kind of what your day looks like. I'm like, all right. I said, I'm going to show you, but I'm only going to show you if you'll first look at where I was 3 years ago on this exact same day. And so we scrolled back on the calendar to 3 years ago at this exact same day. Completely different, completely different work ethic. And I showed him today, or that was yesterday. And yesterday was my birthday. And he's like, why are you meeting with me on my birthday? And I'm like, it's the only time I had available in my calendar. And I've learned that if I'm going to succeed, I've just got to go give myself away and help the next person. And if I can, even if I don't get a direct benefit from that person, I'll get a benefit from, call it God, call it karma, call it whatever you want. I'll get a benefit. Zig Ziglar's words: "You help enough other people get what it is they want, you'll get what you want." It's a fact. And so I'm talking with this kid, and he shoots me a message last night. He's like, "Hey, I really appreciate all the advice and you taking your time out and just sitting down with me and helping me. And if I would love to learn from you in the future." And it's like a son going to his dad and saying, "Dad, how does this work? Or why is this a thing? Why is this the way it is?" It's like it brings the father joy to tell the son, and it brings me joy to help somebody when they need help.
Yeah.
And so I want to be in a position to where I've had to do a lot of that proactively. I've had to reach out proactively, and when I'm proactive, people don't see it as help a lot of times. They obviously they're more defensive, and especially on a LinkedIn, at a social networking platform like that, I think it's some business or sales type thing. And so, but I've been able to help a lot of people. I want to get that to a greater scale to where maybe it's less like one-on-one conversations. Maybe it's more content, right? I'm producing content that can help them. But I just want to get to a point where I can help a greater number of people and do it maybe more systematically through the platform.
No, me exactly. I want to provide value and meet as many people as possible in my field. Like that's what I want to do. And with that field being anybody that enjoys fitness and challenges, anybody that is a pro wrestling fan, anybody's a pro wrestler, anybody that wants to create content or podcasting, anybody in sales, and anybody in logistics. Like, I'm not just saying, "Hey, I'm here to help you in logistics." Bro, I'll help you in anything you want me to help you in if I can. And if I can't, I will say I can't, and maybe I know somebody that can. And if I don't know somebody that can, I'll try to help you find somebody. Like that's the type of person that I want to be, right? But it's hard to be that because we can get selfish. I'm very selfish. That's probably one of my biggest downfalls. And, as being an extremely competitive athlete, I can be egotistical at times. I guess you could call it a narcissist. I don't know what that really is, but you hear it a lot these days, and maybe I am one. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I would try to help just about anybody if I can.
Sure.
Now, I'm always going to be selfish to a point to where if it's going to hurt me or put me in a bad situation, learn to swim. I don't know what to tell you. We're all trying to figure it out. But if I can, I will. I'd like to be in a spot one day to where it's never not possible for me to help just about anybody. And that comes with financial freedom and independence and being debt free or learning how to use debt to be able to, whatever that might be.
Sure.
You got the Dave Ramsey plan and the Grant Cardone plan. Somewhere in the middle, it's probably right. So something I like to do before everybody gets off the show, and maybe you heard it, but you're fresh into the game, but you got a solid 4 years under your belt. What's one tip you would give to somebody coming out of college? Check this. What's one tip you'd give to yourself as you're graduating college from the person you are right now?
Man, so you already said it. It's find somebody that's in life where you want to be. This is what I would have told myself. Find somebody that's where you want to be, and go ask that person, "Hey, what'd you do to get there?" And then just do that. Right. And if you don't want to be exactly like that, because everybody should want to be themselves. They shouldn't want to be somebody else. If that's the case, then there's probably some self-image or some, there's something there that's off. But if there are traits that somebody wants to emulate in somebody else's life, the best way to figure out how to do that is to go ask them. I mean, if I'm going to cross a minefield, and in this proverbial minefield, there's a lot of different options as to paths. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the person that's on the other side and that has both legs, and I'm going to follow their footsteps. And so I would just tell myself, hey, one, do that, and then two, there's no such thing as I heard this the other day. I don't know who said it, but it was so true. It might have been Ryan Holiday who said this. He's like,
stoicism, man.
Yeah. He's like, I never regret waking up earlier. So I never regret it. I'll be tired, but I've never regretted it. I've always regretted sleeping in later. He's like, I've never regretted eating the healthier thing or making the wiser choice or, whatever it may be. I did the whole drug and alcohol thing for years. I never regretted not drinking another or not doing another or not participating or not showing up. And so I would tell myself, one, pick somebody and emulate them. And then two, if you have the choice between comfort and discomfort, then the choice should be simple. Make the tougher choice, because if you make the tougher choices now, you'll get to make easier choices later on, because inevitably life's going to suffer. You're going to have to suffer in life. You either choose to suffer the discipline of, or the pain of discipline, or you'll have to suffer the pain of regret, but you got to go through some pain.
Sure.
Yeah.
Love it. Beautiful. Tell everybody how they can find you, your best platforms, where they can reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can add me on LinkedIn, Dalton Daughtry on LinkedIn. And I just started a YouTube channel, so you could go follow that, like, and subscribe. And
what's the channel?
Yeah, it's just Dalton Daughtry.
Okay, awesome.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Awesome, man. And that'll be like some finance, some leadership, some sales tips, some business stuff. Well, dude, thanks for coming on. Had a blast. I'm sure we could talk for hours. I'm sure we will in the future. Maybe we get you on again. But had a blast talking to you. Guys, do me a favor. Go to the subscription box. Click it. Leave a comment. Like. Do all things that makes the algorithm go boom. And then go over to Spotify. Go to Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I believe we're over 60, Ethan. Apple Podcasts, like 66 or so. Something like that. 5-star reviews. Yeah. So, and they're pretty high. So, also, if you look at the analytics, we are a top 3% global podcast, Ethan. Top 3.
That's awesome.
And that's the audio, not even on YouTube. So, keep it going, guys. We are very close to 2,200 subscribers. So, keep pushing that up. One thing I've been doing, Ethan, you might appreciate this. Now, every time somebody adds me on LinkedIn, they get a message. And in that message, it says, hey, would love for you to subscribe to my podcast. I send them the link. And you'd be surprised how many people have clicked subscribe and told me they clicked subscribe. So now, everybody that comes on to the LinkedIn is going to go over to the podcast. So do me a favor, go to Dalton's or to his YouTube channel and give him a subscription. Do the same for us. And we'll catch you guys next time. See you later. Bye.